Have you ever felt like you're doing, well, everything right for your health?
Mm-hmm.
The diets, the exercise, maybe you're even trying out some supplements,
Yeah.
but you still feel like you're hitting a wall.
Mhm.
Like that breakthrough you're really hoping for is just constantly out of reach.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of frustration. It's incredibly common. I hear it all the time. People are genuinely putting in the effort. They're ticking all the boxes they think they should be ticking, but they still feel stuck, like there's some missing piece to the puzzle.
Exactly. And it could be anything, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's that stubborn weight that just won't budge,
Yeah.
or maybe your energy levels just crash halfway through the day,
Mm.
or hormones feeling completely out of whack.
Mm.
It's really disheartening when you feel like you're trying so hard.
It really is. And that's precisely what we want to dive into today. We're going to explore some of those maybe less obvious, sometimes quite surprising reasons why you might be feeling stuck. These are often key factors that can be kind of silently hindering your progress towards feeling genuinely, well, truly vibrant.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The first one you flagged, it's the idea of combining high fats and high carbohydrates in the same meal.
Yeah.
Honestly, that sounds like, well, a lot of really delicious food. Pizza, pasta.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that combination potentially such a roadblock?
Yeah, it's funny how something so common can really mess with your body's systems. There are a few big reasons. First, that specific combination high-fat, high-carb carb triggers a really powerful reward signal in your brain. Think about those feel-good chemicals like dopamine. This combo just lights up those pathways like crazy, much more than just carbs or just fat alone would.
Ah, okay. Like that feeling you get from, say, a really good burger and fries or that cheesy pizza you mentioned. That intense satisfaction.
Exactly that. That amplified dopamine rush makes it much harder for your body's natural appetite signals to work properly. It's almost like your brain gets so much pleasure, it kind of shouts down your stomach saying, hey, we're full! So you often end up eating more than you need. And you might not feel as satisfied or full for as long afterwards. I remember years ago making this amazing creamy pasta dish. Absolutely delicious. But even after a huge portion, I still felt this weird craving for something more. That's often that dopamine pathway overriding fullness cues.
Oh, I totally get that. It's that feeling of physical fullness,
Yeah.
but your brain is still whispering, just one more bite. So that's the reward system. What else does this combo do?
The second major issue is it can really tank your metabolic flexibility. Ideally, your body should be like a hybrid car, right? Able to efficiently switch between burning carbs for quick energy and burning fat for longer-term fuel. Someone metabolically flexible can easily tap into fat stores when needed, but if you consistently eat these high-fat, high-carb meals, you're essentially training your body to primarily rely on burning those readily available carbs. So then, when you maybe try to eat fewer carbs or you go a bit longer between meals, your body struggles to make that switch over to burning fat efficiently. You might feel tired, sluggish, maybe even get that brain fog. It's like your engine only really knows how to run well on one type of fuel, and it sputters when it has to switch.
That makes so much sense. Stuck in carb burning mode. And you mentioned a third reason this combination isn't ideal.
Yeah, the third one is honestly just the sheer caloric load. It's simple math, really. High-fat, high-carb foods tend to be very calorie-dense. Think pizza, creamy pasta, pastries, fried foods. Even something that sounds kind of healthy, like a big bowl of oatmeal loaded up with, say, half a jar of peanut butter and lots of maple syrup.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
Right. It packs a huge caloric punch in a relatively small volume.
Yeah.
And unless you're burning a ton of calories, like an elite athlete in heavy training, your body often struggles to deal with that energy surplus effectively, leading to, well, increased fat storage over time.
So that triathlete friend who seems to eat pasta and bread all day, they might get away with it,
Yep.
but for most of us,
For most of us, making those high-fat, high-carb meals a regular habit is probably hindering progress. It doesn't mean you can never have pizza again, but maybe not multiple times a week if you're feeling stuck.
okay, message received on the fat-carb combo. So if we're dialing that back, what should we be focusing on more? You mentioned protein earlier.
Absolutely. Prioritizing protein is, I'd say, one of the most fundamental shifts people can make for better health outcomes. It impacts so many things. And thinking about meal structure, there's an interesting overlap with some concepts from traditional Chinese medicine here. The idea is that your digestive fire is strongest in the morning, so a good approach could be higher protein with a moderate amount of mostly complex carbs for breakfast. Then for lunch, again, high protein, maybe with moderate carbs, or you could go lower carb, lower fat here. And then for dinner, the focus shifts to high protein paired with healthy fats. This aligns with the idea of supporting the liver and gallbladder, which are often considered more active in the evening in TCM.
That's a fascinating way to think about meal timing, linking it to organ function throughout the day. So, practically speaking, how much protein should we actually be aiming for? Is there a general guideline?
Yeah, there are some good targets to aim for. A reasonable minimum is often suggested as half a gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight. But ideally, for really supporting muscle mass, satiety, and metabolism, aiming closer to 1 gram per pound is often beneficial.
1 gram per pound. Wow. So if someone weighs, say, 170 pounds,
Yeah.
they'd be looking at potentially up to 170 grams of protein a day.
Potentially, yes. Or aiming for a solid middle ground, maybe around 140, 150 grams in that case. A simpler starting point for many people is just to make sure you're getting a good dose at each meal. Aiming for maybe 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein 3 times a day, that alone is a significant step up for most people's typical intake.
Okay, 30-40 grams per meal feels a bit more manageable as a target. Why is hitting these kinds of protein levels so crucial? What are the big benefits?
Well, the evidence is really strong. There was a huge meta-analysis looking at, I think it was 74 different studies, and it clearly showed that higher protein intake, especially when you combine it with resistance exercise, leads to significant gains in lean body mass, which is your muscle. It also improves strength and generally leads to a healthier body composition, less fat, more muscle. Plus, protein is the most satiating macronutrient.
Meaning it helps you feel fuller for longer.
Exactly. So you naturally tend to eat less overall, and it has a higher thermic effect of feeding, meaning your body actually burns more calories just digesting protein compared to carbs or fat.
Okay, so it builds muscle, keeps you full, and boosts your metabolism slightly. That sounds like a win-win-win.
It really is a nutritional powerhouse, but it's not just about the amount of protein. The type and variety are also really important, and this is something often overlooked. There's this ancient wisdom concept you find in traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, even Old Greek medicine. Like supports like.
Like supports like. What does that mean in practice?
Well, think about it intuitively. If you want to build strong muscles, eating muscle meat makes sense, right? You're providing the building blocks. But what about supporting your other tissues? Your skin, your hair, your nails, your internal organs, your joints. They're all made of different types of proteins and peptides.
Oh, okay, so just eating chicken breast isn't going to cover all those bases.
Not optimally, no. To really nourish your entire body, you ideally want a wider variety of protein sources. This is where things like bone broth come in, rich in collagen for joints and skin, and consuming the skin from poultry or fish, and importantly, incorporating organ meats like liver, heart, kidney.
Organ meats. I know they're nutritionally dense, but they're definitely not a staple in most modern diets.
They're not, and that's a shame, honestly. Our ancestors knew better. They practiced nose-to-tail eating, consuming the whole animal. Organ meats are packed with unique peptides and nutrients you just don't get in muscle meat. These peptides can offer targeted support for the health and function of your corresponding organs. Liver supports liver health, heart supports heart health, and so on.
That supports idea again. But realistically, a lot of people, myself included, might be a bit hesitant to start cooking up liver and onions.
Totally understandable. The good news is there are excellent alternatives now. High-quality desiccated organ supplements, usually in capsule form, are a fantastic way to get those benefits without the culinary challenge. You can find blends or specific organs like liver or heart. I personally started taking a grass-fed liver supplement a while back, and I genuinely feel it's made a difference in my overall energy and vitality.
That's really good to know. The supplement route sounds much more approachable for exploring organ benefits. Okay, so prioritize protein diversity, watch the fat-carb combos. What's next on the list of potential hidden roadblocks?
The next critical area is nutrient absorption. This is huge. There's that famous saying, you are not what you eat, you are what you absorb.
Right. You could be eating the healthiest diet in the world, but if you're not actually absorbing the nutrients.
Exactly. It's all for nothing. Essentially, you won't get the benefits you expect. And there are several common reasons why absorption might be poor.
Okay, what are some of the main culprits?
Well, gut health is paramount. An imbalance in your gut bacteria, what we call gut dysbiosis, can significantly interfere with nutrient uptake. Imagine your gut lining is where absorption happens. If it's inflamed or damaged, often called leaky gut, nutrients can't pass through effectively. Another big one, surprisingly common, is low stomach acid. You need sufficient stomach acid to properly break down food, especially proteins, and to liberate minerals so they can be absorbed later in the intestines. Things like chronic stress or certain medications can lower stomach acid.
So inflammation, gut bacteria balance, and even stomach acid levels. It's all interconnected.
It really is. And something else that impacts absorption is how we often take supplements. We tend to grab isolated nutrients, right? A big dose of vitamin D or just magnesium or zinc on its own.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
But nutrients rarely work in isolation in nature. They exist in whole foods alongside cofactors, other vitamins, minerals, enzymes that help the body recognize, absorb, and utilize them properly. Taking high doses of isolated nutrients can sometimes even create imbalances. Like, too much zinc without enough copper can cause problems. It's generally better to opt for whole food-based supplements where possible. Or, even better, get your nutrients from diverse whole foods where they come packaged with all their natural partners. Think pumpkin seeds for both zinc and copper, or eating liver for a whole spectrum of nutrients together.
So the synergy between nutrients is really important for absorption. It's not just about flooding the system with one thing.
Precisely. And it's worrying because studies show significant portions of the population, even in developed countries, are actually deficient in key nutrients, despite adequate intake sometimes. Malabsorption is a major factor. We're talking high percentages lacking optimal levels of vitamin D, like over 90% in some studies. Vitamin E, magnesium, calcium, vitamin A, vitamin C, the list goes on.
Wow, those numbers are staggering. And those deficiencies aren't trivial, right? They can link to bigger health issues.
Absolutely. These deficiencies can underpin so many common problems: fatigue, hypothyroidism, low testosterone, weakened immune function, bone density issues, even dental problems. Often, addressing absorption and repleting nutrients can be the key to resolving those bigger issues.
And you mentioned fat-soluble vitamins earlier. Absorption depends on fat digestion too, right?
Yes, exactly. Vitamins A, D, E, and K need dietary fat and good bile flow from your gallbladder to be absorbed properly. If your fat digestion is poor, maybe due to gallbladder issues or low bile output, then you'll struggle to absorb these crucial vitamins no matter how much you consume. This is where things like digestive enzymes containing lipase or supplements like TUDCA or ox bile can be really helpful to support fat breakdown.
So supporting digestion itself is key for absorption. What about other general strategies to improve nutrient uptake?
Well, focusing on gut health is primary. High-potency probiotics can make a difference for many people, helping to restore a healthy balance of gut bacteria. I'm talking high dose here, maybe 100 billion to even a trillion CFUs daily, with diverse strains, and incorporating plenty of prebiotic fiber from vegetables to feed those good bacteria. Also, ensuring you're eating enough healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, coconut oil, ghee, fatty fish. Those organ meats, again, helps with fat-soluble vitamin absorption.
Okay, gut health, healthy fats. Any other tips?
Here's a simple one. Try taking your supplements with a warm herbal tea containing ginger or black pepper. These spices are known to improve circulation, including in the digestive tract, which can enhance the absorption of nutrients taken alongside them. We see this with turmeric and piperine from black pepper. The piperine dramatically increases the bioavailability of curcumin. Same principle might apply more broadly.
That's a great practical tip, easy to implement. Okay, moving on from absorption, what's another area we might be neglecting?
Chronic dehydration, and alongside that, electrolyte imbalance. It's more complex than just drinking 8 glasses of water a day.
Really? I thought hydration was pretty straightforward, just drink more water.
Well, yes and no. Drinking enough fluid is important, of course. But first, the quality of your water matters. Tap water can contain things like chlorine, fluoride, potentially other contaminants depending on where you live. And these can interfere with various bodily processes, maybe even nutrient absorption itself. So opting for clean, filtered water is generally a better choice.
Okay, filtered water. Got it. But you said it's more than just water.
Right, because for that water to actually get into your cells and hydrate you properly, you need adequate electrolytes, primarily potassium, sodium, and magnesium. These minerals are essential for maintaining fluid balance across cell membranes. You can drink gallons of pure water, but if your electrolytes are depleted, you might still be functionally dehydrated at a cellular level. The water just doesn't get where it needs to go effectively.
Ah, okay. So electrolytes are like the gatekeepers for water getting into the cells. Where do we get those?
One of the best ways to hydrate and get electrolytes naturally is actually through food. Water-rich fruits and vegetables like cucumber, celery, watermelon, berries, they contain structured water and minerals. Using a little bit of unrefined sea salt or Himalayan salt on your food provides sodium and trace minerals. And drinking mineral-rich bone broth is another fantastic source.
What about specific foods for potassium and magnesium?
For potassium, think avocados, bananas, sweet potatoes, leafy greens. Coconut water is a good source too. Magnesium is rich in things like pumpkin seeds or pumpkin seed butter, almonds, dark chocolate in moderation, spinach. You can also supplement with a well-absorbed form like magnesium glycinate or malate. Spirulina is another good source.
And those sports electrolyte drinks, are they helpful?
They can be, especially if you're doing intense exercise and sweating a lot. But for general hydration, many commercial electrolyte drinks are actually quite high in sodium and often sugar, and relatively low in potassium and magnesium. For everyday use, you generally want a better balance, maybe closer to a 1.1 ratio of potassium to sodium, or even higher potassium. So focusing on food sources, maybe adding a pinch of sea salt, and perhaps a balanced electrolyte powder without tons of sugar is often a better strategy for most people.
Good to know. Avoid the super salty, sugary ones unless you're really sweating buckets. Okay, next point. This one sounds almost too simple. Insufficient nature and light exposure.
It sounds simple, but it's incredibly profound physiologically. Our bodies are deeply wired to the natural cycles of light and dark.
You mean like our circadian rhythm, our internal clock?
Exactly. Natural light exposure, particularly sunlight hitting your eyes and skin in the morning, is the primary signal that sets your master circadian clock in your brain. This clock regulates basically everything: your sleep-wake cycle, hormone production like cortisol and melatonin, energy levels, mood, digestion, even your immune system and cellular repair processes.
Wow. So just getting outside in the morning can impact all of that.
It really can. We evolved spending most of our time outdoors. Our modern indoor lifestyles spent under relatively dim, static artificial light completely disrupts these natural rhythms. Aiming for even just 15-20 minutes of outdoor exposure first thing in the morning, ideally without sunglasses for at least part of it, to let that light hit your retinas can make a huge difference in anchoring your rhythm for the day.
So less scrolling indoors, more stepping outside after waking up.
Precisely. And try to get brief periods of natural light exposure throughout the day if possible. Step outside for phone calls, eat lunch outdoors. Every little bit helps reinforce that natural cycle. Conversely, in the evening, you want to minimize exposure to bright artificial light, especially the blue light emitted from screens, phones, tablets, computers, TVs. This blue light tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime, suppressing melatonin production and making it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep.
So blocking blue light at night is just as important as getting bright light in the morning.
Absolutely. There are two sides of the same coin for regulating your circadian rhythm. Think about our ancestors' bright light all day, then firelight or darkness at night. We're living in a very unnatural light environment now, and it contributes significantly to widespread sleep issues and potentially other health problems linked to circadian disruption. I personally use blue-blocking glasses for a couple of hours before bed, and it's made a noticeable difference to how quickly I fall asleep.
That makes sense. Which leads perfectly into the next point. Fragmented sleep and lack of deep REM sleep.
Yes, this is a massive one. We're chronically sleep-deprived as a society. Statistics show something like 35% of adults in the U.S. report getting less than the recommended minimum of 7 hours of sleep per night. And quantity isn't the only issue. Quality is crucial, too.
I know, I often feel like I got enough hours, but I still wake up tired.
Right. That's often down to poor sleep quality and not spending enough time in the deeper, more restorative stages of sleep. As we just discussed, excessive screen time and blue light exposure at night is a major culprit, disrupting melatonin. Establishing a consistent wind-down routine is really key. Give yourself at least an hour, preferably 2, before bed, away from screens and stimulating activities.
What would a good wind-down routine look like?
It could be finishing dinner a few hours before bed, maybe taking a gentle walk afterwards, then dimming the lights, perhaps taking a warm bath or shower, reading a physical book, not on a bright screen, listening to calming music or an audiobook, anything that signals to your body it's time to relax and prepare for rest. No checking work emails.
Easier said than done sometimes, but I see the importance. You mentioned different sleep stages.
Yes. We cycle through different stages. Deep sleep, also called slow-wave sleep, is where most of the physical repair and restoration happens. Muscle growth, tissue repair, cellular cleanup. REM sleep, rapid eye movement, is critical for cognitive functions, memory consolidation, learning, emotional processing, dreaming. You need sufficient time in both deep and REM sleep to wake up feeling truly refreshed and functioning optimally.
And what disrupts those specific stages?
Things like caffeine consumed too late in the day can interfere with the deep sleep. Alcohol might make you feel drowsy initially, but it significantly disrupts REM sleep later in the night. Eating large meals, especially high-carb meals, too close to bed can also fragment sleep architecture. And consistency is king here, too. Going to bed and waking up around the same time every single day, even on weekends, helps stabilize your circadian rhythm and improves the quality and consistency of your sleep stages. That weekend lie-in can actually mess up your sleep for days afterwards.
Okay, consistent sleep schedule, wind-down routine, managed light exposure, lots to work on there. Next up, underutilizing peptides. We touched on this with organ meats, but maybe we can elaborate.
Yeah, let's revisit peptides because they are so fundamental for healing and optimal function, and most people aren't consciously thinking about getting enough of them. As we said, organ meats, liver, heart, kidney, thymus, pancreas, etc., are the absolute #1 dietary source. They provide tissue-specific peptides that support the health of your own corresponding tissues.
So eating liver provides peptides beneficial for our liver.
Exactly. It's that supports principle again. If you're not going to eat the organs directly, which let's be honest, many won't,
Yeah.
then high quality, grass-fed, desiccated multiglandular supplements or specific organ supplements like liver or heart are the next best thing. They capture those peptides in a convenient form. There are even some great companies making things like grass-fed beef sticks that incorporate liver and heart, making it super easy to get some organ nutrition on the go. I sometimes grab those for a quick protein snack.
Okay, so besides the organ-specific ones, are there other well-known peptides we get from food?
Sure. Glutathione, the body's master antioxidant, crucial for detoxification, is a tripeptide found in foods like asparagus, avocados, spinach, and whey protein, though highest concentrations are often synthesized in the body or found in things like liver. Creatine, famous for muscle energy and increasingly recognized for brain health benefits, is derived from amino acids and is technically peptide-like, found abundantly in meat and fish.
So focusing on a diverse protein-rich diet, including some organ meats or supplements, helps cover these bases. What about those synthetic peptides you hear about sometimes?
Right, that's a whole other fascinating area, often used more therapeutically. There are specific synthetic peptides like BPC 157, known for gut healing and tissue repair. TB500, a fragment of thymosin beta-4 for regeneration, GHK-Q for skin health and wound healing, Epitalon for potential longevity effects, MOTSC and SS31 for mitochondrial function. Tesamorelin or CJC 1295 for growth hormone support, KPV or thymosin alpha-1 for immune modulation in autoimmune conditions. The list is growing rapidly.
Wow, that's complex. So those are more targeted interventions, maybe under practitioner guidance?
Generally, yes. They often require injections and are typically used for more significant health issues or optimization goals. But the foundational principle is the same. Peptides are powerful signaling molecules. Getting the naturally occurring ones from food, especially organ meats and bone broth, provides crucial building blocks and signals for everyday health and repair. Even a simple thymus gland supplement can provide peptides to support immune health.
Okay, peptides got it. Now for something completely different. Mouth breathing versus nasal breathing. Why does this matter so much?
It matters a surprising amount. Chronic mouth breathing, especially while sleeping, is linked to a whole host of downstream negative effects.
Like what? I mostly associate it with maybe getting a dry mouth.
It's much more than that. It's linked to poorer sleep quality, insomnia, snoring, and sleep apnea. Over time, especially in kids, it can actually affect facial development, leading to longer faces, crooked teeth, recessed jaws. It impacts oral health, contributing to that dry mouth, but also increasing risk of gingivitis, cavities, and gum disease because you bypass the filtering, humidifying, and antibacterial actions of the nose.
I had no idea it affected dental health like that.
Yeah, and it can even weaken your immune system. Your nasal passages are your first line of defense, filtering pathogens. Breathing through your mouth bypasses that filter. Think about kids with constantly swollen tonsils or adenoids, often linked to chronic mouth breathing.
Okay, this is making me very conscious of how I'm breathing right now. So what can people do, especially if they suspect they mouth breathe at night?
Nasal breathing should be the default. If you wake up with a dry mouth or sore throat, or your partner tells you snore or breathe through your mouth, it's worth addressing. A simple strategy many people find helpful is gentle mouth taping at night. Using specific, porous medical tape, not duct tape or anything harsh, just to gently encourage the lips to stay closed and promote nasal breathing during sleep.
Mouth taping? That sounds a little intimidating.
It can seem weird at first, but many people adapt quickly and notice significant improvements in sleep quality and how they feel upon waking. Of course, you wouldn't do it if you have completely blocked nose due to a cold or allergies. There are also exercises, sometimes called myofunctional therapy, that can help strengthen the tongue and throat muscles to support proper tongue posture and nasal breathing patterns during the day and night.
Interesting. Definitely something to look into if sleep or dental issues are a concern. Okay, nearly there. What's the ninth point?
Not following a personalized nutrition plan. This piggybacks on what we discussed earlier about different diets, but it deserves its own emphasis. We're constantly bombarded with the latest and greatest diet trend: keto, carnivore, vegan, paleo, whatever it is. And the temptation is to jump on the bandwagon because it worked for someone else or it's popular.
Right, everyone's looking for that magic bullet diet.
But the reality is a one-size-fits-all approach rarely works long-term because we're all biochemically unique. What makes one person thrive might make another person feel terrible. Your genetics, your current health status, your gut microbiome, your activity level, your stress levels, even your ancestry, all these factors influence what kind of dietary pattern is truly optimal for you.
So, blindly following a generic diet plan might actually be counterproductive.
It absolutely can be. You need a diet tailored to your specific needs and health goals. For example, at our institute, the dietary plan for someone with inflammatory bowel disease is going to look very different from the plan for someone trying to manage blood sugar or optimize cognitive function. Consulting with a knowledgeable practitioner, a functional medicine doctor, a naturopath, a skilled nutritionist, even an acupuncturist who incorporates dietary therapy can help you figure out your personalized needs.
It really requires some self-awareness or professional guidance, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. I remember visiting relatives in Italy years ago. The grandparents were in their late 90s, sharp as tacks, and thrived on a diet heavy in beans, lentils, and pasta. Amazing. But if I tried to eat that way constantly with my different genetics and gut sensitivities, I wouldn't feel nearly as good. You either need to become a really good detective about your own body, noticing how different foods make you feel, or you need to work with someone who can help you identify your ideal nutritional template. Don't just follow the crowd.
Excellent point. Bioindividuality is key. Okay, the final point. Over-relying on conventional testing. What do you mean by that?
I mean, relying solely on standard blood tests, like the basic CBC, cholesterol panel, maybe a TSH for thyroid that you typically get at an annual physical, and assuming that if those are normal, then everything is fine.
But aren't those tests important?
They are important for screening for certain diseases, absolutely, but they often don't give you the full picture of your functional health. They might catch a major problem once it's already developed, but they often miss the subtle imbalances and underlying dysfunctions that precede outright disease. Think of it like using older technology. A standard blood test might be like a blurry X-ray, whereas more advanced functional testing is like getting a high-resolution MRI. It shows you much more detail.
Okay, so what kind of advanced tests are you talking about?
Things like comprehensive stool analysis to really assess gut health bacteria balance, inflammation markers, digestive function, organic acid testing, OAT, which looks at metabolic byproducts in urine to give insights into mitochondrial function, neurotransmitter levels, nutrient needs, yeast overgrowth, detailed micronutrient testing that measures vitamin and mineral levels inside your cells, which is often more accurate than just measuring levels floating in the blood serum. Hormone panels that look beyond just basic TSH or total testosterone, examining metabolites and free fractions.
So these tests look deeper at the root causes.
Exactly. They can help identify why you might have symptoms, even if your basic labs look okay. For example, you might have thyroid symptoms, but your TSH is normal. An OAT might reveal mitochondrial issues or nutrient cofactor deficiencies that are impairing thyroid hormone conversion or utilization. We even have cutting-edge tools now, like biological age testing using DNA methylation, which tells you how fast your body is aging at a cellular level compared to your chronological age, and even organ-specific age testing.
Organ-specific age testing. You mean you can see if your heart is aging faster than your liver?
Potentially, yes. Imagine someone looks healthy, standard labs are fine, but their heart's biological age is 15 years older than they are. That's critical information for prevention. Better testing leads to more personalized, targeted, and ultimately more effective interventions, whether it's diet, lifestyle, or supplements. I recall a client struggling with PCOS and infertility. She'd been doing a generic low-carb paleo diet based on popular advice with limited success. Advanced testing revealed specific nutrient needs and gut imbalances. A truly personalized diet and targeted supplements based on those results led to significant improvements quite rapidly. Conventional tests just hadn't picked up those nuances.
Wow. So digging deeper with testing can really unlock those breakthroughs when standard approaches fail. This has been incredibly illuminating. It really highlights how often it's not about needing some drastic overhaul, but about tuning into these sometimes subtle but really crucial factors that we might be overlooking.
Absolutely. It's often the combination of these seemingly smaller things: the right diet pattern for you, good absorption, balanced electrolytes, proper sleep, nasal breathing, sufficient protein and peptides, managing light exposure that creates the synergy needed for real, lasting health breakthroughs.
It really shifts the perspective.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, perhaps a final thought for everyone listening. Looking back at these 10 points we've discussed today, which one, or maybe two, really resonates most strongly with you right now? Which area feels like it might hold the key for you personally, the area you need to perhaps explore a bit further to finally unlock that health progress you've been seeking? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into digging a little deeper on the path to better health.